Do you miss chocolate chip cookies?
I don't. Somebody else giving you a test and you testing yourself is the difference.
That's why I really be trying to find snacks that he don't like. If I think that what I'm really good at isn't special, I'm not ever going to get started on something.
That even if you give somebody your secrets doesn't mean that they're going to understand how to do it. So,
or that they're going to understand.
Better than that they're even going to care.
That they're even going to care. Stay Sharp, episode 38. I'm Jordan Ray, and joining me is Rashad Tyler.
Hey, Jordan.
My other half and my business partner.
Indeed.
We are the duo behind Rare Label, which produces this podcast and also supports brands and businesses from strategy to implementation. You can read all about that on our website, rarelabel.com. But we're here to have a conversation, per usual, about some things that we're going through, some things that maybe you can take from us. But we also want to make sure you know that we are going live every other Thursday. I know it might become kind of confusing, but Stay Sharp's on Tuesday. Mindset Shift is every other Thursday where we're live. You can talk to us live. We're real people. We go through things. We have good days. We have bad days. We've had great projects. We've had bad projects. We've had success. We've messed up. So also be on the lookout for Mindset Shift. That's live every other Thursday on YouTube. So right here. And we'll see you there. Yeah. How are you doing this afternoon?
I'm pretty good. Today's a pretty packed day. So
yeah. What's your day look like?
Today we are doing a live. So that is after this. And I think before even now, and I think especially preceding this conversation, like I've been pretty protective about like the secret sauces of things.
He has. That's why I'm like, you're telling everybody what our day looks like, because you told me you wanted it to look like every episode was a different day. And I was like, fuck that. Like, I'm on the internet, like, bro, we about to do 4 episodes right now back to back. And all of these episodes was done in the same day. We quickly flipped clothes and, whatever. Yeah. But
I think there's like, just a immaturity that I initially approached that with. And I think there's like just the reality of this day and time, that even if you give somebody your secrets doesn't mean that they're going to understand how to do it that they're going to do it.
Give it away.
So it doesn't matter at all. So,
or that they're going to understand.
And better than that they're even going to care.
That they're even going to care. So I'm glad that you shared that. So we can just be more transparent. I think that is what I want to start to uncover more and more and more, is like what our actual day-to-day freaking looks like. So yesterday or the day before yesterday, I began to post, or I think I am beginning to post what my day looks like. So I'm like taking a selfie in the morning and writing out like what my schedule is. But I want to do it in my voice. I don't want it to be like 8 p.m. take a call with so-and-so, or, 10 a.m. meeting with whatever team. Like, I just want it to be in my voice. Like, this is kind of how I'm moving through my day. And it got a lot of engagement, and people were like, yeah, like we are definitely interested in seeing, your schedule. Cool. Be nosy. I like to see it when other people do it, because I got this concept from another woman who runs an agency, I think out of LA, like social media or digital marketing or something. And she almost every morning takes like a selfie and then puts her schedule down. And I'm like, oh, it's cool to kind of see what she's doing, even though I really don't care. It's just cool that she is. I think it gives you
a productivity comp.
Yeah, it helps to feel like, okay, I'm going to be accountable. But the day that I posted it, I was like, I had to repost that. I said, scratch that. I have a nail appointment I completely forgot about that. So everything that I just told y'all I was going to do, I don't really know if that's going to happen.
Right.
Because the nail appointment freaking takes 3 hours.
Move things around.
So yeah, we are actually today, y'all, recording 2 episodes this morning. And then later on at 4:00, we have a live. So today is May 16th. We're going live later. We have 2 new, recorded episodes that will go out in the next coming weeks. And I have a client project that I desperately need to pin up today. So I'm going to try to do that between this recording and the live in a few hours. And then later on tonight, probably some more work or whatever, depending on how I feel, because I definitely prioritize, getting rest, and like I'll just start early tomorrow. Anyways, yeah.
Cool.
I have also a content idea, like for us, you know, as we're kind of talking about being transparent and just sharing with people like what it looks like really behind the curtain and being more consistent with that. So I just really believe that you watching, I want you to feel like I'm a real person. It's not me just really showing the highlights, even though I don't know that I am necessarily comfortable with showing myself at my lowest. I'm not cool with that. I just want to be a little bit more, I want to be strong, and I actually like to get through my dips before I share about them. I'm not good at like sharing when I'm in it. But a content idea I have for us is, y'all, we've been eating a certain way for like 6 weeks. Yeah. Absolutely no sugar, absolutely no dairy, no grains, no quinoa, no nothing. It's super annoying that you're just like, oh my God, I love this. Because I'm like, this like so kind of sucks, but I get it because my energy is through the absolute roof. Yeah. But the fact that you're just like, yeah, like this is the best diet ever. And I'm like, it's not, but like we feel really good. So I get it. I understand why I'm doing this. But anyways, I am about to start introducing some foods back into
the conflict in the statement. Go ahead.
I'm about to start introducing some foods back into my diet in about a week and a half. And I'm like, whoa, we should go maybe like twice a month, once a month or something. And each time I'm introducing something back into my diet, we record it. We can do, you know, like a vlog. It might live on my personal channel or whatever. It doesn't matter. But we're just like, oh, like today we're going to, you know, whatever, at Chick-fil-A. We're going to go crazy at Chick-fil-A and go do that thing. So that's a content idea I have that's coming up. And that'll be, again, y'all, on the personal channels. So if you're interested, I'm trying to pull back the curtain and show y'all what it really is.
You like a good curtain pull. I just want to bring to light the conflict in, my energy's through the roof and I feel really good, but I really, you know, it's annoying that you want to feel good and my energy be through the roof. It's weird, but all good. Somehow, you know, it's important for you to find a sandbag and you are actively, you know, attacking sandbags to add to our lives.
Yesterday, y'all, we needed to run an errand and we get in a car and he like, oh, is there a Whole Foods close by where we going? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, why do we need to go by Whole Foods? I just got groceries the other day. Like, why? He's like, I need a snack. And I'm like, yeah, because you on this diet, you want a snack.
It's so layered, man.
He's trying to curb the craving or whatever. I'm like, we don't need to go by Whole Foods. We got food at the house. And he's like, but you won't let me eat the plantains. Y'all, I found these plantains
there we go. Now we're telling the story.
That are kettle cooked, ridge cut, sprinkled with Himalayan salt. These plantains are insane. They're crack. He's like, you won't let me open the chips. And I'm like, we have a recording day tomorrow. We don't need to eat this whole bag of chips because once you open that bag of chips, you're eating all the chips. I'm like, just hold on. We'll open the bag on Thursday after we record the episodes.
She's giving you so many themes.
And I'm like, but you don't
reality.
you don't want to split a cookie with me one day? Not right now, because like when I introduce and I'm able to eat sugar again in a couple weeks, like you don't want to split like a chocolate chip cookie. And he's like, no. And I'm like, but you ate a chocolate chip cookie every day for the last year. And he's like, well, I don't want chocolate chip cookies anymore. And I'm like, you don't miss them? There's nothing that you miss.
Boy, so a couple of things to themes to clearly uncover.
Answer that quote. Like,
what part?
Do you miss chocolate chip cookies?
I don't, because I've already, I got
anything?
to know, because they're not in my mind. I can't really reference them because it's been so long. And because I've had big layoffs, like anytime, like if I get a chocolate chip cookie, particularly that bad motherfucker from across the street, it can be addicting. So if I go bad on a day or a weekend, then I'm going to have to like wean myself off of that sugar that I took in on the, cheat weekend. So I'm going like, no, I don't want to go back to that. Cause then it's not going to be one cookie. It's going to be, one cookie. Then I got to have a half cookie and a quarter cookie over the next subsequent week in order to get back to zero. So I'm just like, no crack for me. Then I don't have to worry about being tempted every time I go by the crack house.
Crack is a lot.
Yeah, that's exactly what sugar is, bro. But what I was going to say is all of these things are tailored or swimming around your schedule and your wants and how you see it, because you are also clearly articulating that I'm not allowed to not only eat your chips, but I can't even go get chips of my own that are not your. So
I told you we could go by Whole Foods. You decided not to. But if you want chips of your own, you can order from Amazon. You can order from Whole Foods and get your own snacks. But I'm like, we're not opening my
It's cool.
snacks.
I'm not arguing. I am honored.
I have a day.
I am honored to share a life with you. But it is absolutely clear that it is what's mine is yours, and what's yours you will maybe consider me participating in.
If that's how you
is how it is. Well, it's okay. I'm not the only one. And again, I'm honored to share a life with you.
And I'm honored to get 2 bags of chips and label them. It's not a big deal. I don't want to pop my bag
But
open
you're still going to get into my bag of chips, even if that happens.
That's why I really be trying to find snacks that he don't like. So then I have these other snacks that like every time I go in the kitchen and I open the bag, he's looking and I'm like, yeah, you're not going to like these. Anyway. So.
Yo, that's so exactly perfectly on brand. So all good.
Yeah. Dieting is hard, y'all. This elimination diet, it's been very challenging. It's been the most rewarding thing I've ever done probably in my life, but it's tough because I'm like, dang, I haven't had a piece of toast in 6 weeks.
I just want to make sure that we bookmark this part. She said, we get 2 bags of chips. And then when I'm like, but all that's going to happen is you're going to also eat some of my chips that you just like, yeah, that's actually a part of this deal. But it's all
because you're not going to say otherwise. But I am literally saying I will get 2 bags of chips. And this is your bag, and this is my bag.
But it's a million memes around this.
Chips,
we are just living examples of the memes that we see all the time. The stuff that I send you from other content creators who are just like, yeah, this is what it's like with her.
Yeah, I just will get 2 of everything, and it's not.
It's all good.
That'll be the fix. That's why I didn't address that, because I'm like, that's not what I was saying at all. I was like, I'm actually gonna buy you your own stuff. Okay, in this conversation, you will, I think, better understand how to pursue your own ideas, how to, post that content, film that video, start the strategy, ask for help, call the client, whatever, send the email. Like there's all of these actions, I think, that we're sometimes not taking as creatives, and we're not giving ourselves the grace to be fluid and flexible. To forgive ourselves for when things like aren't really always as smooth, because as a creative, you're really trying to operate at a high level all of the time, especially when you're doing projects and work and things, you're creating things from scratch. It's like, I got to reinvent the wheel almost every time because you're trying to keep it fresh for a new client, or you're trying to just level up every time. So through this conversation, I really want to, coin this creative grace as a thing, like giving ourselves grace and being okay with sucking when you first start, because you will not be good.
Oh, I got it.
And this is what you shared with me maybe yesterday or the day before. Like, you won't be good when you first start.
Oh, yeah. I think the quote is that I loved. Now, I want to make sure I don't paraphrase it, but forgive me if I do. It is, you don't have to be great to start, but you have to start in order to become great. And I think that people a lot of times like just make it so much more difficult than it needs to be, because they don't have context on what the journey should be and what their expectation of that is. It's kind of like the perfectionism thing kind of gets them in a spot where they are waiting to get good to get going. And you should not ever find yourself behind that unnecessary wall of thinking, because consistency, showing up and doing something consistent, is the only way to get great at it anyway. And so if somebody believes that, they're going to be at the top of the pyramid by studying, reading a bunch of books, and then deploying a business, you're sadly mistaken. Mm-hmm. You're going to have to read and deploy and read and deploy and read and deploy. And maybe on your 3rd or 4th or 5th business, then it goes.
Why is that though? Is it like, I wonder if, what is it that we all feel? Because I get into my head and I start to procrastinate on something, or I'm stalling on pressing publish or just doing it, like shipping the work, right? Like that's also a concept that Seth Godin has written a book about. If you do not know who Seth Godin is, or you haven't read any of his books, all of his books are chef's kiss, literally. But Seth Godin has the book Shipping Your Work, and it really encourages creators to get your projects off. Like, quit being so, what's the word that I'm looking for? Like protective, or just kind of like, of your ideas. Like no one, like, you know, they're going to forget in 24 hours anyways. Like maybe they won't, like, but the more things that you get off, like the better that it's just like being an athlete, and the more you shoot and the more you practice on your form, literally the better that you get. Like Steph Curry did not always shoot the ball like that. Like, but we can't see it otherwise. So I'm wondering, like, what do we think? Or, you know, if you're watching and you want to comment, like, what is keeping you from starting something? You know, is it fear? Is it like, I don't feel like I have the equipment? Is it, I don't have the knowledge? Is it, I don't have the time?
And plenty of people will never become Steph because they'll have the game where they don't shoot it that well, and then they won't shoot again. Right? Yeah. So it's really, to me, the most important thing is to just have a short memory. I think it's there's something. Yeah, what is that from? The memory of a goldfish.
It's in some movie, I think, for sure. I think that they came, you know, they got that from somewhere else. It might come to me, but it's having the memory of a goldfish. Yeah. It's like a 2 or 3 second thing.
Yeah. And just like move on. Like don't waddle, don't wade in your misery around something not going the way that you thought it would go. It really is a lot of time that I've spent trying to get people to recenter their present opportunity when they are insisting on telling me how poor things went, or like, this is what happened last time. I'm going, yeah, now we have that lesson to get it right for the next time. So let's talk about the next one. Yeah. Right? Because there's no value in the last time if you're not taking it into the next moment to reproduce a better version of what it is. Yeah. And so if you're, it's okay to be hurt that there's a failure, that there's a miss. I would expect you, if you care, for you to be hurt. And that's the type of energy that it takes to leverage everything you learn to not face that hurt again. But don't take that hurt to mean that you don't go back to the plate.
Yeah. A question I get asked a lot is, should I have 2 separate, and this is like kind of off the rip.
Oh, yeah.
A question I get asked a lot is, should I have 2 separate social media accounts? And I'm going to reel all this in so you'll understand. But if you haven't thoroughly started something anyways, you don't necessarily have a lot of like traffic or, you know, like searchable stuff. You don't have a plan for the content anyways, like, or you don't even have the content created. In my opinion, it's like, no, like you don't, there's no need for you to try to now split. You're just putting like the cart before the horse. You're just skipping some steps. You need to assess where you are right now. Do you have clients? Do you have the content? Do you have the ability to be consistent with producing the content? And checking some of those boxes, I think, will let you know as a creative, okay, yeah, I can support this. Right?
Do you have like an example in mind that you're thinking about on this? Protecting the innocent, of course.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of starter projects that I've worked with, it might be someone who is, you know, starting a consulting, you know, they're doing consulting for styling or something to that effect. And there's always this question about like, should I share my work on my personal page when I'm like, well, you don't have a lot of work yet, so there's no reason for you to break it up. You know, I'm like, keep it together, because you're going to end up overwhelming yourself and not being able to use the account that you have to test, to practice and get that going. And the more demand that you get, okay, now I have the flexibility to expand my.
So this theoretical person has a page that they sparingly post to anyway. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then they're saying that they want to, should they open up another account?
Yes.
And they have an account that they don't use. And they're saying, should I add another account so that I can post these other things? You're already going like, even if you open up another account, you're only going to post twice to that account anyway.
Mm-hmm. If you even have the content, if you even have the strategy.
Yeah.
And so I think sometimes that is what is keeping us from starting, is we think that we have to have another account. We have to have a website. We have to have a logo. We have to have all of these things in place before we get started. And I'm like, no, like you use what you have right now and do what you can with what you have. And you grow and you take steps and you get better. And that's how you start. That's how you get started. Yeah.
I think there's like a great lesson in that. And I wanted to make sure I was kind of hearing you on who you were talking about and what that experience is. But I think there's the reality that sometimes people will start something or want to go further than there is demand for it. So we talk about the supply demand curve or the supply demand scenario often, that we want to have a demand for services that far outweigh the supply, which is how you get the price up and you make sure that you do the right work for the right people. So it's important, to your point, that there is a need for you to use an account, not a want for you to spread out your message to more people that are not paying attention.
Yes. Like use the eyeballs that you already have.
And then when that becomes overwhelming, then open the new account.
Yes, when you have the bandwidth.
Yeah.
100%. Expanding on that, there's also the narrative that the superpower that we have is normal. And it's not. It doesn't matter how regular, typical that you feel like your superpower is or what you're really good at. It's a thing, and other people do not have that. For me, it was organization and like structure and how I am able to really plan something, execute that, and like do it over and over and over. Mm-hmm. I thought that was like a given. I'm like, I'm really busy. So like, that's why I planned so much. And, it's not the case for everybody. Mm-mm. So the more, just over the last like 4, 5, 6 months, the more I lean into that, the more it opens up my ability to creatively be flexible. Cause now I'm like, oh, I can show people how to organize this or how to make this into a routine and how to do this over here. And not letting that hold me back, has been great, because if I think that what I'm really good at isn't special, I'm not ever going to get started on something.
Yeah. You index really well for time calculation by effort with the filter of how much expertise is necessary to accurately define a time estimate for completion.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it sounds like a deep equation when it's really not, but I think you do really well. Like even the way what we were just talking about just moments ago, like I'm concluding around like the purpose and the usefulness, and you're going like bandwidth. You're naturally thinking about, do you even have the time, wherewithal to do it? And I'm going like, does it matter if you do it? Right. So we didn't even come at that thing from two different vantage points, which is to your superpower, because that is just very, very unique and very different.
Do you get asked a question, or do you see like a repeat narrative that people have, like the reason why they don't start projects, or, might be finances or like a knowledge set? They might feel like they don't have like the skill set. Like what's something that you see all the time and you're like, quit using that as an excuse?
I guess people are always trying to get the money out before they should. So, for example, people are always wondering how much something costs because they're trying to get the money out, and they don't necessarily know that they should know specifically what it is that they want on the other side. And then they figure out like what it costs in order to get to the other side. I'm not tying this up very well, but it's just inside of that thought exchange that all of the problems start. Because for me, I have a way that I'm looking at things. I'm going, what is it that I'm really after? And then I'll work backwards from there. It's like they will want to know, how much does that cost? Oh, it costs $25, so I can sell it for 50. And I'm like, but why are you selling it for 50? And why do you want to sell it at all? Like, and what advantages do you have? So I don't understand how or why people have those start points that are at the beginning or even at the middle, because it only makes sense to me to think about and be clear about the end. But they just want not the end result of the project. They want the end result of the money in their pocket. Mm-hmm. And that's not how you get to a great end result
Like, well, what I hear is running more exercises to understand, like, what am I even after?
Yes.
And so when I shared earlier about, assess where you are right now and do what you have with what you got and do it the best you can. Because, like, to your point, you got to understand, well, what am I really after? Like, what do I want? So I know what it takes to get there.
Because if you just want some money, like, you should just be playing stocks or stock market or something, because you're going to just do things that flip money potentially, as opposed to deliver value.
And there's a world for that.
There is
a quick example that I think about is, and just in particular, like, I believe that we're known to be, somewhat of like the brand people, and we have a lot of design thinking and everything that we do, and a lot of strategy. So when we create something that is, in a digital form, or a brand, like a logo, these types of style guides and things that we do, it's because there's a lot of thought, like, where are we trying to go?
Yes.
Well, how do we want to apply these over time? So I see so many people, or I get so many inquiries, like, asking how much a website is or how much we charge for brand identities. And like, that's a very interesting question, because it depends on what you need.
Correct.
And so we try to get in that boat with you to figure out, okay, well, this is where I want my company to go, or my organization to go. This is where I want my event to go. Whatever the project is, it's different from project to project. Like, we have a rate that's like, the average is about this, or it ranges from this to this, but it's hard. And we don't want to just throw out, well, this is $25, when you really need something that's $1,000 because of where you're trying to go. And
because it fits what you're, Yeah.
So everybody wants a logo, but don't know how much value their logo needs to bring, and how they also need to do the work to understand how to use their logo. Like, so many people are paying like a lot of money, and sometimes it's to us, sometimes it might be, to other contractors or designers, but y'all are paying a lot of money for a logo or a brand design because you think you need it to hurry up and like get some shit off, that you don't even know how to use it to get the stuff off for the return to come.
Does it help you?
Yeah. That's how I understand kind of what you're saying.
Thank you for that. Because that's a much neater summary than what I offered. But to your very specific point, like, I'm looking at the Stay Sharp logo on the back here. It looks like it has like a knife. It looks like it's cutting, right? And that means something when you're trying to communicate an idea. So does the branding help represent what you're trying to do? And if so, in the right way, right? Will it make sense to the people that you're trying to get to? Who are the people that you're trying to get to, right? What are their values, right? And do you have even the right thesis? So now you can start to do the real hard work of figuring out, does your product, company, or otherwise project have a place in the world? And what is your thesis or thought process that validates this actually being worth the effort?
That's where that flexibility comes in. I think that creative fluidity comes in, because you have to like kick the tires and look at things from different angles. And, the last thing that I'll say about that is with websites, the question is not if you need a website. the question is like, how do you want your website to function? And when people are on there, what should they be doing?
What is the
what are they getting out of, like, it's not like, yeah, like everybody could do a website, but how do you want it to flow so that when people go to it, they're doing what you want to do?
Yes.
And like, you can't put a price tag on that until you're very clear about what you need. So you might need a website that goes crazy and has all these animations because you want people to stay on there for a long time. You might need a website that's just a landing page. I just want people to book a call. And then that needs to be the first thing they click on. Like,
and what do you need to do in order to convince them to click and schedule a call? And so all of those things require an extreme amount of thought on the front side and preparation on the front side. And it's just interesting to, at least to me, that that folks don't spend the time figuring out why their project should exist, and therefore who or what needs to happen in order to make sure that it delivers in the way that they've hypothesized.
I was thinking about this the other day, and it's so many people aren't putting up the effort. And I'm saying this because I have people come to me all the time that ask questions, and that respectfully, like, you could have answered this on your own. You could have asked ChatGPT and got at least some sort of quick spit out on what it is that you're really trying to ask. Because if the questions aren't that good, you're not going to get that great of an answer. And it's hard for someone to just come to me and say, oh, well, Rare Label, I want to work with y'all on whatever, but they're not really clear about what they want. So I can't even give them a great answer because I'm like, you just brought me one question and I have 100 to ask you.
Yes.
Because it's creative marketing. It can go 1,000 different ways.
That's right.
So like, the more research and the more just sit down that you can do and inform yourself on what it is that your work and projects and your commitments really take. Like, that's the space we got to figure out how to operate in more.
I think that's why, like, the difference between sales and marketing is so tough to figure out, because people don't necessarily understand that marketing is only there to support sales. Sales is the offer. What is of value to the people? What's the price point? How do we bundle it? How do we make sure that we've properly considered our cost and get a profit, right? Based on what it is that we're selling. Like, that's a very specific thing. Sales is literally to generate the top of funnel, meaning, general awareness, and get people to try to make the buy against the offer, whatever the offer is, right? But without the offer clear, your sales is just dangling around. You're just making something look pretty, but you're not telling people what it is that they're buying. What does it matter if the toothpaste tube is really well designed? It is that language on there that says, like, tartar control or, removes gingivitis or whatever the offer may or may not be on the thing. But that's where all of the value is, because you can make anything look good, but if it doesn't tie to the message and ultimately the product, then it's a waste of time. And the delivery of what the idea for the business is the reason we have a CEO and a founder. The reason we have a salesperson is to take that particular offer and formalize it into numbers and strategy for who we need to get to and all of those different parts, and marketing to create the advertising to make it sexy or interesting to those people.
So you're starting something new, like someone who's starting something from scratch. And we're talking about maybe the gap in information, like, you just don't know yet. Like, that's okay. That's the grace. Like, chill. It's fine. You're not going to know. But how do you start to put one foot in front of the other and get the knowledge that you need in order to know? I think is by not limiting yourself creatively. You know where you want to go, but you know where you at.
Right.
Like, okay. So you want to become a CEO, or maybe you want to get more familiar with marketing. Yeah. You want to get more familiar with production, whatever the thing is. It could be multiple things, but we all start with nothing and start as a novice. And so one thing that I would say that's really helped me is to not be afraid of just kind of throwing spaghetti at the wall.
Yeah.
Like just trying things, especially as it pertains to showing up on social media. And it feels sometimes like maybe like, oh, my content's going to be all over the place, or, I'm not going to really be able to get good at one thing if I'm doing a whole bunch. But I don't know, like I feel like that process is maybe not the best approach depending on what you're doing. I'm like, try a lot of things.
Test.
And in regards to maybe content in particular, just for the sake of what I'm sharing is, you're testing different types of content because you got to figure out what your audience even like really wants to maybe see from you. It might be something that you didn't expect. So don't worry about people liking it or not liking it. You have to commit to the process of at least doing it and trying it and testing it. You can delete it later. You can take it down, whatever.
It's interesting how much hesitation there is around finding out. Maybe people don't want to know, but try and test. And even, in some of our conversation before this, we talked about, I think I was sharing with you, like the desire to continue to prove that there's this version of me that I'm getting to. So I'm consistently like leveraging I'm creating the next set of tests and proofs around who I am and what I can do. I'm literally creating them because I need to get to this other end result, this other end. So at 21 or 20, I'm going, I want to be a very successful executive in the entertainment space. But really, I only have the skill set of a flyer guy. Mm-hmm. And so how do you become the super high-end executive when you are a flyer man? Well, you tell people you're more than the flyer man. And you do more than the flyer man. And then once you go to the next step, you continue to do more and you continue to do more. But you don't do that unless, to your point, you're testing. Whether that's your content itself, right? Mm-hmm. Because maybe your aspiration is to be an influencer or a content creator, whatever language feels the best for you. And if that's where you want to be, then you have to test to figure out what content makes sense. And after some time, you'll be able to look back and go like, oh, look at what I did. I am now the ambassador or influencer.
Yeah. And it's going to take years. So to think that I'm going to do something for a couple months or whatever and cool, like you're not going to know after that. Anything worth having, like it's going to take several years.
That's a fact.
I think that sometimes I get reminded about the experience that I have within the Adobe software. And I'm like, if you knew me before I was who I am now, I had never opened up like a computer before, let alone, and I know that sounds insane. I'm dating myself, like I'm older than I look, but I never really was working on a computer until 6 years ago. And then I got right into Photoshop. And I remember being like, okay, I am signing myself up for the hardest design software, whatever this is, but I'm just going to get in. I'm going to open it up for 45 minutes a day. And now I look at the things that I can do just, oh yeah, okay, let me do that real quick. And it's the most invaluable skill that I have, but it took me 6 years and tears, sweat, like all of it.
But what's funny about that is like, there's no difference. That's exactly what it takes, regardless of how you come into it. Mm-hmm. Like, all right, what I mean by that is imagine you went to like some fancy high school that offered this sort of thing. So you get like 2 years or 3 years or 4 years of this kind of thing. Maybe it started in middle school, so you get good by high school. All right, maybe not. Maybe you started the last 2 years of your high school and then you went on to secondary or to college or whatever it looks like. And that education was art school for another 4 years. And then you still got to get out to the field. And it's just weird to me that people want to rush all of the processes. And the difference between somebody else giving you a test and you testing yourself is the difference. And what I would submit is that most of the people who win are able to test themselves over and over and over and over again for 30, 40, 50, 60 years, but they're figuring out new things to do that are giving them subsets and different packages of information, skills, and otherwise that they package up again as a total to make themselves superstars in a space. So it's just like, yeah, that's exactly how long it takes for anybody to become an expert graphic designer or web designer or, I don't know, project overview generator, whatever it may or may not be.
Operations man, like whatever.
Yeah. And so like now you've got your hard-earned education that you're able to floss and flex and, push on everybody because you earned it. And most people are not going to do that work. Yeah.
So the rate is the rate. But I think that as a creator and, freelancers and a lot of the adjacent industries, like you have to even know even more than just one thing. And having grace on yourself is the biggest kind of sentiment of encouragement that I can give, because it's not going to be pretty and it's not going to happen overnight. And there's all of these moments, these dips that you're going to experience. There's a book by Seth Godin on the dip that really helped me through, this is, it's going to be a lot of ups and downs. And how do I behave during the downs? And when can I realize that I'm in that and still be even flexible through that? Still keep throwing spaghetti at the wall, right? Because we can't stop. The moment that we stop in our businesses, like it's just not an option for us, fight. We just got to figure out, I don't want to say fight through, no, sometimes you need to hit the off switch. Okay. But how do we just keep that fluidity and
so
rolling?
For a certain type of mind, and I'm not of this mind, which is why it's always so good that we're able to have these conversations together, because there are two different temperaments, two different things that need to be flagged. Like I needed to know, or it comforts me to know how much time should I expect. That helps me calm down because I think that I'm behind. I think that I'm rushing. It doesn't occur to me to be harmed or be hurt or that grace is important as it is for me to go and maybe it is the same conversation actually, but I don't program it that way. I'm going, all right, in a realistic way, how long should I give myself to get good? How long or what age or how much time do people typically hit these milestones by, right? What is ahead of the curve? What's on the curve? What's behind the curve, right? Because maybe, again, you answer that with grace, it's okay. Take your time, continue to show up. And I'm going dude, you're ahead. Oh, you didn't put in the time, right? Mm-hmm. I can be more on the nose with that part if I go yeah, dog, you're not going to be a good designer unless you are intentional for 5 years, or you're not going to be good at adding this particular skill unless you push hard on getting the acquisition down over 3 months, 6 months. I think I was sharing with you yesterday about, I'm going to add this right here and it'll take me between 3 months to be solid, 6 months to 8 months to be an expert. Mm-hmm. Because I know that they give this freaking thing away online and they say you can be solid in a week. Right? But I know just like learning JavaScript or learning how to code, when I read backwards on it, it's it's going to take you 2 to 4. You'll learn the basics in 6 months, but you won't really know what you're doing until 2 to 4 years.
Yeah, that's a way to think about it for sure.
But with that information, I'm empowered.
Yeah, but I would wonder if you're watching and that's how you can tap in with yourself like that, let me know, because that's not always my first go-to. I think I'm behind or whatever. It's might be the comparative part of me, but that's a great narrative to be able to tap into. And I love that. It's wait, let me really lay all this stuff out, take a breath. Where am I actually, how long does it take people to actually go where I'm trying to go, and think about it like that. Mm-hmm. That makes me wonder about learning styles, and, just leaning into what kind of learner are you, and maybe even the people around you understanding what kind of learner you are. Because that might even have some sort of impact on your timetable or your process. I really think that I am more of like a self-study / visual learner. You know, like
what's
you might
self-study?
Kind of independent, like you prefer to go, because you could be like a social learner, like analytic, auditory, you know, those kinds of learning styles. And just doing some of those like tests online or like personality tests, maybe. I don't know if personality really has that much to do with it, but your learning style can help you also lean into, you know, the learning curve that you're up against, you know? And we're, I think, wanting to make sure that, you know, right now on this podcast, we're learning as we go about the production, the scripting, the writing, like how to be consistent and showing up and be flexible sometimes, and being able to shift and be fluid with the topics that we even pick. You know, it doesn't always feel like it's exactly right or it went well, but it's like, no, like have the grace, like we found it, you know, we got there. And the importance is we know that we want to do 100 episodes. We have that timetable in front of us because we're like, oh, most people do 100 episodes over a couple, 2 or 3 years before they even start to like,
that's right.
It makes sense.
That's right. That part of it is more helpful for me because I realize that where I am in the game, if I know that I'm in the first part of the first inning, that's helpful, as opposed to expecting that I'm in the eighth inning. Like, you know, you got more runway. You know, you're not close to being like in a rhythm and a flow or even in an understanding when you know you're in early innings. If you think you're at the end and you're actually at the beginning, that miscalculation can make you quit. I remember in a fast story, I remember my best friend, Adrian, my childhood best friend, he goes, I'm 25. He goes, yeah, bro, like niggas in the hood saying like, if that music thing ain't hit for you yet, you might as well quit. You don't need to be doing that. And it's just the most laughable, at this point, it is the most laughable thing ever said to me.
Blasphemy.
Ridiculous.
Childish.
And even for an artist, it would be the wrong thing to say. And I'm not even an artist, I'm an executive. Ridiculous, terrible, whatever it is. But that's why a lot of the guys in the hood don't get going.
Yeah, quitting too early,
too early.
Not getting that timetable. Moral of the story is to keep your options open, try a lot of things, throw the spaghetti at the wall, and stay flexible, stay fluid. I'm trying to, just give a whole bunch of like visuals or words that you might be able to. That's what I got to do for myself. Like, I got to find language for what I'm going through, what I'm up against, what I'm dealing with. And it helps me move through the ups and the downs. And so definitely continue to have grace on yourself. All of this stuff takes time, but keep yourself open to asking the questions, to sending the emails, to testing the content, to pressing the record button. Like all of those little actions, they really add up over time. And that's what we got going for us. Like we can show up every day and spend a little bit of time getting better at something,
That's right. Yeah. That's right. I like where you button that.
Cool. Well, we appreciate you for watching another episode of Stay Sharp. You can also catch us on Mindset Shift every other Thursday. That is our live check-in and Q&A with all of you. Come really actually talk to us, and we're going to be asking you questions. You can ask us questions. So that's every other Thursday, Mindset Shift. Other than that, in the meantime, stay sharp.